Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to Timeless Romance Tales. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more dark aristocratic romance, slow burn desire, and stories where proximity becomes temptation. Now let's begin. No one volunteered to watch the Duke overnight. They were assigned, and even then most found a way out of it. Isolde Fairwind did not. She stood outside the Duke of Greymoor's private wing with a single lantern in her hand, spine straight, expression calm, pulse betraying her only in the tight grip she kept on the brass handle. Inside those doors was a man who had not slept properly in weeks, a man who dismissed servants, sent physicians away, and refused to leave his chambers after dark, a man whose insomnia had become dangerous. Remain outside his rooms, the steward had instructed. Ensure he does not wander. Ensure he does not collapse. And if he orders me to leave? Isolde had asked. The steward had hesitated. Then, he said quietly, you do not. The door opened. Isolde lifted her gaze. Duke Alaric Thornbridge stood framed in candlelight, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark shirt with the collar undone. His hair unkempt in a way that spoke of exhaustion rather than neglect. His eyes sharp-shadowed, unervingly alert, settled on her at once. You, he said. Not a question. Yes, your grace, Isolde replied evenly. I've been assigned the night watch. I didn't ask for one. No, she agreed. You didn't. A flicker of irritation crossed his face. Then curiosity. You're not one of my guards. No, your grace. A maid. No. Then what are you? Isolde met his gaze without lowering her head. I'm the one they trust not to lie to you. Silence stretched. Alaric studied her as though weighing a problem with no pleasant solution. Come inside, he said finally. That wasn't part of my instruction. His mouth curved faintly. You'll find it easier to ignore my orders from inside. The words were almost amused. Almost. She stepped over the threshold. The door closed behind her with a final deliberate click. The Duke's chambers were damp warm with firelight, heavy with the scent of ink, wax, and sleeplessness. Papers lay scattered across a long table. A half-empty glass sat untouched near the hearth. You intend to stand there all night? Alaric asked. If necessary. He circled her slowly, not predatory but attentive, like a man cataloging something unfamiliar. They sent you because you won't flinch, he said. They sent me because I will, Isolde replied. Just not for the reasons you expect. That earned her a look. You're meant to watch me, he said. What exactly are you watching for? For when you stop pretending you're fine. The silence that followed was thick. Alaric turned away, reaching for the glass, then stopping short. I don't need supervision. No, Isolde said quietly. You need rest. I don't sleep. I know. Then why waste your night? Her voice softened just slightly. Because someone has to stay awake with you. He froze. Slowly he turned. That was not in your orders. No, she said. It was in my judgment. Hours passed. The fire burned low. The manor settled into its midnight hush. Alaric paced. Read. Wrote. Stared out the window as if daring the dark to answer him. Isolde remained where she was. Present, observant, unyielding. You haven't moved, he said eventually. I'm watching. For what? For the moment you realize you're not alone. His jaw tightened. People are always alone, he said. They just pretend otherwise. Isolde rose then, slowly, deliberately, and crossed the room. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to be felt. Not tonight, she said. His breath changed. Just barely. You don't fear me, he observed. I respect you, she replied. Fear would be easier. Then why aren't you afraid? Because you haven't slept, she said. And men who don't sleep eventually stop pretending they're invincible. The truth landed. Hard. Alaric exhaled, dragging a hand through his hair. Sit, he ordered, gesturing to the chair near the fire. Isolde didn't argue. She sat. And for the first time so did he. They did not speak for a long while. The fire cracked softly. Rain brushed the windows. You'll report this, he said eventually. How I am. What you see. No, Isolde said. He turned sharply. You're not loyal? I am, she said. Just not to appearances. His gaze searched her face. What are you loyal to then? She held his eyes. Survival. Something in him shifted. You're not meant to be here, he said quietly. And yet, she replied. Here I am. The night deepened. Alaric's movements slowed. His posture slackened just enough to betray fatigue. You're shaking, Isolde said. I'm cold. No, she corrected. You're exhausted. He closed his eyes for a brief, dangerous second. Isolde stood at once. She crossed the remaining distance and stopped in front of him. Stay awake, she said gently. His eyes opened. You sound worried. I am. Why? Her voice dropped. Because if you fall asleep like this, you won't wake easily. He laughed once, short, bitter. So you're my keeper now? No, she said. I'm the only one left in the room. He looked at her then. Not as a duke, not as a commander, but as a man standing on the edge of something thin and dangerous. Sit with me, he said. Not an order. A request. Isolde hesitated only a moment before sitting beside him on the edge of the bed. Close enough that their shoulders brushed. His body was warm, tense, human. You're still watching, he murmured. Yes. And if I ask you to leave? She met his gaze. I won't. He let out a slow breath. Good. Minutes passed. Then more. Alaric leaned back against the headboard, eyes half closed, fighting the pull of sleep. Isolde stayed upright, steady, her presence anchoring him. You're the first person who hasn't tried to fix me, he said quietly. I'm not here to fix you. Then what are you here for? She answered without thinking. To endure with you. His eyes opened. Something unguarded flickered there. Isolde, he said, tasting her name. Do you know what you're doing? Yes. And you're still here. Yes. His hand shifted, barely, resting against hers on the coverlet. Not claiming, asking. She didn't pull away. Neither of them slept. But somewhere near dawn, the tension softened into something quieter. Something steadier. When light finally crept into the room, Alaric was still awake. So was Isolde. And neither had been alone. The steward returned at sunrise. He froze at the sight of them, sitting side by side, composed, unbroken. The Duke, he ventured. Alaric stood. He stays, he said simply. The steward nodded. When they were alone again, Alaric turned to Isolde. You will watch me again tonight. Yes. And the night after? If you need me. He studied her. I will. Not possession. Not command. Choice. Isolde inclined her head. And as she left the chamber, she realized something dangerous and undeniable. She hadn't been assigned to watch the Duke. She had been chosen to stay awake with him. And neither of them would sleep the same way again. Isolde did not sleep after she left his chamber. She returned to her small room on the lower floor just as the manor began to stir. But rest refused to come. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt the weight of his presence beside her again. Not heavy, not demanding, but undeniable. By mid-morning a summons arrived. Not formal. Not written. A servant simply appeared at her door and said, "The Duke requests you." Isolde followed him back to the upper wing. Her steps measured, her thoughts anything but. Alaric stood near the window when she entered. Fully dressed now, posture composed. The shadows beneath his eyes softened but not gone. He turned at her approach. You stayed awake, he said. Yes. So did I. A pause. That wasn't meant to sound like gratitude, he added. It didn't, she replied. But it was. His mouth curved faintly. I dismissed the physician, he said. I know. And the guards. I also know. And yet, he continued, studying her closely, you're still here. Yes. He moved toward her then, slow and deliberate, stopping just short of her space. Do you understand, he asked quietly, what it means to be the person I allow to witness me like that? Isolde didn't look away. It means you trust me not to turn it into weakness. His gaze sharpened. And you won't. No, she said. I'll turn it into truth. Something in his chest eased. She could see it, felt it. In the way his shoulders relaxed a fraction. You will remain on night watch, he said. For how long? As long as I ask. And if others question it? They won't, he replied. I've made it clear. The second night was harder. Not because he resisted sleep more, but because he resisted her less. Alaric didn't pace this time. He didn't bury himself in papers or stare down the dark like an adversary. He sat near her, close enough that the air between them felt charged. You don't fidget, he observed. I'm listening. To what? To the moment you start thinking instead of guarding. His jaw tightened. You see too much. Then stop showing it. He exhaled slowly. I don't know how. That honesty startled them both. The fire crackled. Wind pressed against the windows. Why does night undo you? Isolde asked gently. He didn't answer at first. Then, because night doesn't require performance. She nodded. Neither do I. His gaze slid to her mouth, only for a second, but she noticed. So did he. You're still not afraid, he murmured. I am, she said. Just not of you. Of what then? Of what this becomes if we pretend it's nothing. Silence followed. Thick. Honest. You could request reassignment, he said quietly. No one would question it. And would you sleep better? His answer came without hesitation. No. Then I'll stay. On the third night, exhaustion won. Not fully, but enough. Alaric's head tipped back against the chair, breath slowing despite his efforts. His fingers twitched once, then stilled. Isolde rose at once. She knelt in front of him, close enough now that his breath brushed her cheek. Stay with me, she whispered. His eyes open, clouded, heavy. You're still here, he murmured. Yes. Good. His hand lifted, finding her wrist, not gripping, anchoring. She didn't pull away. Instead, she stayed kneeling, steady, present, letting him drift only as far as safety allowed. Minutes passed. Then more. He didn't fall fully asleep, but he rested. For the first time in weeks. When he stirred again, disoriented, it was Isolde's face he saw first. You didn't leave, he said. No. You didn't wake the guards. No. His voice dropped. You stayed. Yes. The word carried weight now. After that, the manner noticed. Not the intimacy, but the change. The Duke was steadier, quieter, less volatile. He ate. He listened. He dismissed fewer people. And Isolde was always there after dusk. One night, as she prepared to leave his chamber at dawn, he spoke again. Isolde. She turned. If I ask you to remain beyond duty, he said carefully, would you? She considered him. Not the Duke, not the power, but the man who had learned how to rest only when someone stayed. Yes, she said. But not as obligation. His eyes searched hers. Then as what? As choice. Something settled between them then, slow, inevitable. He stepped closer. Did not touch her. Yet. Tonight, he said quietly. Stay a little longer. She nodded. And for the first time since the watch began, neither of them pretended this was temporary. They didn't kiss. They didn't cross the final line. But when the door closed behind her that morning, Isolde knew the truth. She was no longer watching the Duke to keep him safe. She was staying because leaving no longer made sense. And Alaric Thornbridge, who had feared sleep, feared silence, feared the dark, had finally learned what it meant to endure the night with someone who chose to remain.